Just give some background here. I'm replacing the hydraulic lifters in my BMW 116i 2006 model, and this video was preceded by another video where I showed stripping the cams out of the head. So you might want to look at that video first, and I'll put a link to that video here. I should also add that I'm not a professional car mechanic. I'm just sharing my experiences with you. So get a good guide like the Haynes manual or some equivalent and follow that. If you saw my previous video where I stripped down the engine or the head, you'll remember that I had a nut missing from one of the cam caps and I couldn't find it. Well, guess what? I found it down one of the oilways. So that looks as though that's the nut that was missing, which means it came loose and then spun off and dropped. I don't know what to say. I'm pretty lucky, I suppose, that it didn't just get somehow jammed in all the valve gear. But anyway, and that's also making me worry about, is it going to spin off again if I just torque them to 10 Newton meters and they've got no captive, capability. So I'm wondering whether I should use Loctite on them. I eventually decided against using Loctite because it's not used in the standard assembly of the car, and so I don't see any reason why I should have to do something different. The only thing to bear in mind is that the aluminium caps on the camshaft are going to expand at a faster rate than the steel studs, and so naturally tighten it up actually as the engine gets hot. So you set them to 10 Newton meters cold, you set the nuts to 10 Newton meters cold, and then obviously as the engine gets hotter I think they tighten. Okay, so the first job is to put the new lifters in. I'm going to do them one by one and just drop the roller cam follower back on in place so that I don't get them muddled up. Excuse my voice, I had a really heavy cold and my voice is going a bit, but hopefully it'll last. And I've done research about whether you should or should not prime the lifters. There seemed to be this absolutely 50-50 split. I've decided I'm not going to. And what I am going to do is prime the whole engine by disconnecting the fuel pump or the injector fuse and then turning the car over, which is what you normally do when you're priming the oil system if you've done some significant work to it. So I'm going to do that rather than prime the individual lifters. So as you can see, the whole assembly comes out as one piece. There's the lifter, and it just pops off. It's got a little spring clip thing. The spring clip thing doesn't do anything other than stop it from dropping out when you're lifting it out, because in operation it's pushed against the roller assembly. So I don't have to replace the spring clip. That's what I'm getting at. Okay. Even though I'm not going to prime them, I am going to just lubricate the outside of them. So I've put some fresh engine oil in a pot and I'll just drop them in, fish them out, and then put them in place. So they come in these little plastic tubes because they have got some sort of oil in around them already, I guess to stop them rusting or something. And they've got this funny little clip. So we take the clip off. Actually, I should check that they look right, and they do. They're slightly different, but yeah, I'm sure that's fine. Yep, okay. Okay, that's the first one done. I'm not going to keep the camera rolling while I do all the rest, because obviously it's just a repeated operation. If I discover anything unusual or unexpected, I'll come back to you. Okay, that's it, they're all done. What did I learn? Well, one thing is once you've got oil all over your hands, it's easy to drop them. And I actually dropped one on the floor, which meant I had to clean it really thoroughly. So there's that. The other thing is that as you lift them out with the roller, you know, the cam follower, they don't always come out. Sometimes because of the, I guess, creating a vacuum with the oil, etc., underneath them. As you try and pull them, they resist and they just pop out of the clip. In which case, I had to use long nose pliers to get them out. That's the only thing you can do that actually gets down the side of them because they're quite close to the casting in some places. I only had to do that twice. I only had to use that twice. The other thing is that the wear on the inlet ones is, see if I can get this in focus, there's no real staining or anything. There's sorry, I've got bits and bobs on there, but there's no real sort of strange patterns on the wear. But on the exhaust ones, they all have a common thing where they have this dark, if you look at the bottom surface, it's got this dark patch, and that dark patch always faces the valve. And I guess it's side thrust because the exhaust valves, the rockers or the cam followers, are at a much steeper angle to the lifter than they are on the inlet side. So I think that's just side thrust on the lifter. I don't know that it necessarily means there's a problem. I think they were all the same on the exhaust side, so you know, I only assume that's normal. Okay, next thing to do is to start to put the cams back in. Okay, so the Haynes manual says the camshaft has to go in with the, at the back, this thing here with the curved side facing up. Well, I haven't got a curved side on my camshafts. So the other thing it says is for the N43, which I know is a different engine, but that the cam lobe should be pointing slightly inwards on the inlet side. And that's certainly how it was when I took it off, when it was on top dead center. So I'm going to try and do it just by using the square at the end. The other thing they say is that these oil control rings have to be facing upwards when you fit the cam. The expansion piece, and that happens to line up with the hole in the cam for the oil to come through. So we just need to make sure that's done. Now I've poured some oil onto the cam bearing journals, and I'm now just going to drop the cam in place. Okay. Now the problem is that because it wants to compress the inlet valve at the far end on cylinder 4, because that is just coming into its induction stroke. The cam's twisted. Now, full disclosure, I've tried fitting it already, and I tried to then turn the cam and put the locking tool in place. That didn't work, so we're going to try a different approach this time. So what I'm going to do is roughly fit the locking tool. Right, so put it in place. Yep. So that's in place now, so it will stop the cam from twisting. The little oil things have moved around already, so we'll move those back. Do these. They're not that far out actually. I'm sure it can't be precise, otherwise there'd be some other method of doing it. Alright, so that's done that. Now I've got to put the caps back on. Going to stick some oil on all the caps, like that. And then, that's number 1. number 2, number 3, and number 4. Right. I'm just wondering if I should put the no, because I'm going to have to take the exhaust one off again anyway. If I put the exhaust timing tool, because the exhaust timing tool presses down on this side, but I can't do that. Let's just give that a little nip. Okay. Being very careful not to drop any of these. At this point I realised that I had to fit the oil spray bar clips, and eventually figured out that they needed to go on caps 1 and 4 of each cam, and on the right hand side stud, that's where they need to go. Well, the good news is that the oil spray bar clips are all the same, so that saves any confusion. Yeah, they're all the same. The first one on the inlet side goes over here, and it goes that way round, because it actually locates against the tab on the bearing cap. So that's that one, and then the other one's at the front. In fact, if you look at the oil staining, you can see how they go. Okay, so what we'll do now is slowly tighten them up, and then we've got to torque them to 10 Newton meters. So okay, let's now torque them up. So this is the exhaust cam. By the way, I can't see any markings on these cams to tell you which is inlet and which is exhaust, so you'll need to make sure you lay them out and keep them in the right order when you're dismantling. That's bizarre, isn't it? You'd think that it would have some sort of marking on it, but I can't see one. What I did discover was there's like a hex, there's some flat spots machined onto, there's some flat spots machined onto here, which I guess you could use to turn the engine. The only trouble is I've just measured them. They measure 23.6 mil across the flats, which is a slightly strange measurement, but I'm guessing they should be 24 mil spanner would turn it, and maybe that's how you're supposed to sort out, you know, lining the cam up with the tools. Anyway, I don't have a 24 mil open end spanner, so now again on this one the exhaust lobes, cam lobes on cylinder 1 should point slightly inwards like that, so that's the orientation of the cam, which means also I've got to align these things like that. Hopefully that's in focus. Right. Now this time it's cylinder 2 that's got a valve that's being slightly pushed down, so we'll have to rotate that a bit. Let's get the tool. Okay, so this is component B of the laser kit. Okay, so that's the tool in place. Now what we're going to do is fit the caps. And can't see it. Okay, that's interesting. Oh yeah, just about 3. Okay. Right, the spray bar on this side goes on the right hand side, so it goes there. Yeah, it's slightly asymmetrical, the spray bar, and same at the back. Okay, I've got to remember what I did with the one I fished out of the oil way. I've got another one anyway. I bought one from BMW, but where did I put that then? It was over on my bench, and one thing you can see with this, it must have been down there quite a while because you see the oil staining on it, on the actual face, whereas the others are all shiny. So, and that does raise the question, when they did the timing chain, did they see this missing? Did they just ignore it? Or did they not see it missing? Or did they actually take the cams out and they're the ones to blame? Who knows? Okay, that's one. Okay, 10 Newton meters. The adapter's gone missing, there it is. Right, done. So next thing to do is to put the front caps on the front of the cams. Now I'll have to move this rag a bit to make sure it doesn't get trapped in there. Okay. Okay, there are no separate torque settings for this front cap thing, and as it's the same stud size, same nut going into aluminium, I'm just going to do it at 10 Newton meters as before. Okay, now we need to fit this clip, and T30 Torx is what we need. Yeah, well, there you go. That's what's going to happen. Trouble is, my gloves are so covered in oil, it's really easy to drop something. Now, there's no mention of a torque setting for that, but I'm going to do it at 10 as well because it's, again, it's a, is it an M6? Oh no, maybe it's not. Let me just check. Yeah, it is an M6. The only thing is it's going straight into aluminium. Is it the same thread as these others? Yes, it is. So I think we're going to we'll put it in there at the same torque setting. Yeah, cylinder head cover bolts 10, same as everything else. Okay. Where are we up to now? I think we need to start to put the sprocket assemblies back on. Yeah, actually, I think I'll do the inlet first because this wire is holding the chain up that side. The only good thing here is it'd be almost impossible to drop the sprocket down the front of the timing chain cover because it's so big. Just so that fits in here. See if I can get this. Okay. Well, you're not playing ball with me. Okay. Yeah, I got it on. So I got it on down the bottom on the right hand side first, and then it sort of fits okay. So that's done that one. Let's just make sure we've got the, yeah, seem to be okay. So remember, we need new bolts here. Ignore the fact it says 5 pieces, you just need 2 bolts, and that's the number 11367 574. So, and oh, by the way, that's for this car, obviously, so you might want to double check for your car. Okay, so I've pushed it back a bit and located it. So those spring rings around the end of the cam, obviously you need to push it in and they get compressed, and then you wriggle it around until it locates properly. Yeah, that's taken, so that's okay. Right, we'll leave it at that. It's loose, but that's fine. Oh yeah, actually it takes no force at all. You can do it with your fingers to push it back onto the... Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm panicking over nothing. Okay, reading up on what I've done so far, I have actually done the correct thing. So we are supposed to tighten these up just finger tight. And the next thing is to refit the bolt into the timing chain guide. So let's do that. So I'm going to do that to 10 as well. It's an M6, by the way, so I think 10 is the correct thing because it's going into aluminium again. Doesn't seem a lot, does it? Still. Okay. Alright, so that's that. Now the next thing to do is to fit the tensioner tool, not the actual tensioner itself, the tensioner tool. So this is what we're talking about, this tool. So let's try and get that in place. And apparently we turn the centre screw on the tensioner tool until it touches the guide rail. Not that I can see where the guide rail is, but... Now I made a mistake here, and luckily I got away with it, but just so you don't make the same mistake, when you're tightening up the tool, if you read the Haynes manual, it actually says that you should tighten it until it exerts 0.6 Newton meters of tension on the rail, which obviously nobody's got a torque wrench that will measure that, but what they suggest is you do it so that you basically do it finger tight, but tight finger tight. Now we need to locate the camshaft sensor stators, and so we're on to this component, which I think is component D in the laser kit. So let's put those in place. That's not going in very easily, was that? Nope. Find out if this is a problem with the hole in the... Yeah, that's not right. Yeah, that thread's not in good shape actually. Great. the others look okay, but that one looks as though it's taken a bit of a hammering. Okay, well, we'll carry on anyway. Let's see if we can get this fitted. It's not right. What's going on here? I think that's been put in there cross-threaded and before, and now it's giving me grief. Set the washer off. Yeah, we'll screw down when the bracket's not on there. I wonder if it's pulled slightly sideways. Oh man, so what do we do about that then? So what I think has happened is somebody has bolted down the head cover and the screw in the corner was cross-threaded, and they've just driven it straight through, and now it's sort of cut a fresh thread, but the bolt, not the screw, the bolt is not at 90 degrees to the head surface, which means that I can't get this mounted properly. I suppose if I can get that, just keep that flush and do the one at the top, that should be okay. It's holding the stators in the correct position, and there's no gap. No, there's no gap between the bar and the surface of the head, so I think we'll have to go with that. So to just show that in a bit more detail, you see this bolt here. It's not at 90 degrees to the surface of the head, so as you tighten it up, it's jamming against the hole in the bar. This one's okay, this is fine. It's just that bottom one, somebody's done the threading on it. You can see the thread's damaged, so just hope I don't get an oil leak. Shouldn't do. So, yeah, I think that's good enough because that is in contact, there's no gap. So I think that should be good. The stator rings are locked, so that's all good. Now the next thing I need to do is I need to get the engine to TDC. And to do that, I need my dial gauge. So this is the dial gauge I purchased. It's one that goes through the plug hole. I'm just hoping I've chosen the right thread size on that plug. I think I have, but nope, it's the wrong size. Now to make excuses for myself here, the listing for the purchase of that part, that dial gauge, said for BMWs, and I think it meant BMW motorbikes, which was a bit of a stupid omission. Okay, long term, I guess I can get an adapter made. Short term, I think what I'm going to have to do is just hold the tube flush to the surface of the plug hole and work with that. Get this in here as best we can. Back, and then, oh, what am I doing? I should be winding it clockwise, shouldn't I? Clockwise to the timing point. That's right. Yeah, that's just about in the same place. Let's just see if that goes past there. That's a little bit further. Yeah, that is it. That's definitely it. Okay. So just to summarise what we've done, we've got the cams locked in position for top dead centre on cylinder 1. We've got the camshaft sensor stators locked in position for top dead centre on cylinder number 1. And now we've just rotated the engine to get it to top dead centre on cylinder number 1. So everything now should match. So the next thing I've got to do, although I will check the book, is tighten up these bolts such that, yeah, tighten them up fully. Now, the main thing is, of course, that I've got to hope that as I tighten them, it doesn't cause the cams to spin, or not so much the cams actually, the cams won't spin. It doesn't cause the engine to turn over. I don't think it will, because these are bolting down onto these stator plates, and the stator plates are locked in place anyway, so I don't think that's going to give us an issue. I'm assuming that it takes considerable oil pressure to activate the Vanos units, because there's no sort of procedure to, you know, lock the Vanos units in place, either advanced or otherwise. So I'm guessing that it takes a fair amount of pressure to actually get them to rotate. Adjustment unit on the camshaft. Stage 1, 20 Newton meters. Okay, that's not very much. I've possibly already done that actually. I've already done that. Oh boy, that was a mistake, wasn't it? There's no way I've stretched them, so let's just back them off and do it again. Okay. Now we've got to do them 90 degrees, followed by a further 90 degrees. I'm going to use a short brake bar, not because I think that I'm going to need that much force, but you can get more control if you've got more leverage. Okay, that looks good. Now I'm going to have to do it in one go, so I need to give myself enough swing to be able to do it. Maybe that's why you have to do it in 2 phases. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's 90 degrees. Can you believe this has got to go another 90? I find this quite nerve-wracking because, of course, the worry you have is that you're suddenly going to shear the bolt off in the cam or something. Man, that is... Oh, I don't know about that. That's a bit nerve-wracking, quite honestly, but it is what it says it should be. Wow. It was very hard to undo. I had to use a longer brake bar to get it undone, so they obviously are supposed to be very tight. Let's try this one. Yeah, I think that's why you do it in 2 90-degree chunks, because you can't do it in one go. You just can't spin the bar around far enough. Okay, so there's the first 90. I'm glad that's done. I didn't like that. That's not fun. Very nerve-wracking. I'm sure you get used to it. Okay, onwards and upwards, as they say. Yep, so it says remove the tools from the back. Doesn't say remove the one from the front yet. It says remove the timing chain tensioner tool and then put the proper timing chain tensioner in. Right, that's that. Let's tighten it up. The right size, that's 11, isn't it? I remember. Okay, so to summarise, we've removed the timing tools from the back of the cams, and we've reinstalled the oil spray bar and screwed the banjo union thing into this front cover on the cam. Did we do? Yeah, we did talk that up. I remember doing it. So the next thing is to install the tensioner. And the tensioner needs to be installed with a new gasket ring. So we've got one of those, so we'll dispose of this one. All nicely fitted and ready to go. So 27mm spanner. Okay, now that's got to be done up to 65 Newton meters. I'm sure lots of people wouldn't bother using a torque wrench and just sort of, you know, do it by a calibrated arm. Unfortunately, I'm not that brave. I've sheared too many bolts and yeah, not that brave. Yeah, that was what I feared. Slipping off the top. Let's go around the other side. Yeah. Come on. Okay, what I'm going to do is remove this water bottle screen wash thing. Give ourselves a bit more space. There we go. That's better. Okay, that's there. Whew, thank goodness for that. Well, I guess we're entering the home run. So I think this tool has got to come off now, and then I can start to put the cover back on. Well, that's an interesting concept. What it says is you should remove all the locking tools now, rotate the engine 720 degrees, as in 2 revolutions, and check that you can fit the flywheel locking pin back in, which of course I don't have. But what I can do is turn it 720 degrees and see if I get the same mark there for the setting. Quite honestly, if it's not, I'm in big trouble because I'm going to have to buy 2 more cam bolts. So let's hope I've got it right. I am planning on having the head completely reconditioned at the end of this season. And obviously when that's done, I'll get them to helicoil that that hole there for the cam cover. I would try and helicoil it myself, but the trouble is that you need to make sure you've got it at precisely 90 degrees, otherwise you're just going to reinforce the problem that we've already got. And you can't really do that unless you've got it mounted on something and you use a pillar drill or something to gradually wind the tap into the hole, drill the hole in the first place and wind the tap in. So we're going to have to forego that. Yeah. All right, let's carry on. Okay, so to check the timing, you turn the engine through 720 degrees, which I've done. I can just about see the mark that I made before there. It's obviously gone through the oil and it's washed some of the little white paint stuff off. But the other thing to do is to check that all the timing tools fit again, and they all do. And crucially, you need no more than 1 mil gap in the exhaust one, and that exhaust one is flush down against both sides, so there's no gap at all, so that's correct. Yeah, it's all good. I had intended originally to produce the video right up to the point where I start the car, but as we're 47 minutes in already, I thought I should cut this one here, but I will add more videos later to my channel showing the remaining steps. But I thought it's just worth proving that the car does start after I do all of this. So here's the attempt.